So we've been doing some fun stuff, some more fun things, funner things. So now we're going to do something that I think is pretty important to just understanding music, because just playing something, you just need to know. Like, you don't even need to know that that's a C chord. You just need to know if you put your finger there on that string and do that, something happens. And then if you put fingers here and here, something else happens. And then fingers here and here, something else happens. And if you do all of those things all in a row, you get something. But you may have no idea what you're doing, so you're just sort of going through motions of just, if you do this, something happens. So what we're going to do is talk about more like music and theory-ish type stuff. Most importantly, reading some sheet music, because that's sort of the first step. So if you think about it, when you're a little baby, you really can't do much, but eat and spit up and goo goo gaga and stuff like that. And eventually you learn how to talk. And then you go to school or homeschooling, whatever. And eventually you learn how to spell and learn how to write and learn how to read. And all of those things now make the talking make sense, because you start to understand what words are, you start to understand what words mean, you grow your vocabulary, you can write things down in sentences and have proper sentence structure. So earlier I said funner or something like that, which isn't a word, but hopefully you understood what I meant. But learning all of that, so that's kind of the next step that we're going to take here and start to do some reading sheet music. And you may know a little bit of it and anything, so just sort of bear with me. So first, I have my dry erase board here. First, there are things called notes, and like, that's a note, that's a note, that's a note. All these things are notes, sort of like letters in the alphabet. So you learn the letters in the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, all 26 of them. You learn notes, and then you learn what to do with them. So you take the letters of the alphabet and you put them in an order, and it spells words. So you put the notes in an order, and if I play like these notes, it's now a chord. Sort of like taking the letters and making a word. I took single notes, put them together and made a chord. Then when you take your words and put them in an order, you create a sentence. So you take these chords and you put them in an order, and you can create a song. Same type of thing. Okay, so there are 12 notes in the music that we're going to deal with. It's generally called Western music, and different music, like what they call usually Eastern music, like India and Japan and China, things like that. Mostly like sort of the eastern end of Asia. So looking the camera, I would be going that way. The eastern end of Asia, they tend to have more subdivisions, more, instead of just 12, they have more notes divided up. So in between, like here we have like a B and a C. They have notes in between those, which in Western music we don't deal with. So we're going to just deal with that. So we have 12 notes. And a lot of times people say the notes go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then the sharps and flats in between, which we'll get to in a second. So there's only the 7 letters used. But that's not really a good way to look at it. I like to look at it sort of like, I'm going to do this. Okay, so I like to look at it as if it was a circle, okay, because it is. And let me get this thing off. There you go. Okay, so if we do this, okay, A is at the top, and it goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, but that's sort of not really a good way to think of it, because A isn't the first note. It's just a note. So we could start on B and go B, C, D, E, F, G, A. We could start on C. We could start on D. We could start on E. We could start on F. We could start on G and go G, A, B, C, D, E, F. Doesn't matter. Okay, so I really like to think of it like that, like it's just a circle. Okay, there is no real starting note. Just sort of like the alphabet. Okay, A is the first letter in the alphabet, but it's not really the best letter. It's not really the most important letter. It's not really even like the starting letter. It's just somebody put them in some order. Okay, so notes just are there. Okay, on the ukulele, the lowest pitched note on a standard tuned soprano ukulele is a C. Okay, that's the lowest bottom note. Okay, there is no note below that. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We could, keep going, but there's no, they go up, but there's no note lower. So you could think of, on a ukulele, the first note is a C. It's the lowest note. But again, there's notes that exist that are lower on other instruments, just not on a ukulele tuned in standard pitch, standard tuning. So I just don't want you to think that A is the first note. Okay? We usually use that as a starting note, just sort of putting it in alphabetical order, just because why not? Okay, so we have that. So the first thing would be, like I did in a previous lesson, is make sure that you do know the notes on the ukulele. Okay, that's an important thing to know, because just sort of like, how do you write a sentence if you don't know letters? How do you write a sentence, write anything, if you don't know words? You need to know how to spell words, how to write proper letters, because if you don't know how to, say, write an A, a capital A, if you don't know how to do that, then nobody knows that you're writing a capital A. You just put a squiggle and say, that's an A. Nobody knows what you're talking about. So, definitely know the notes on the ukulele. Okay, and then the next thing that we want to do is start to read music, okay? And music is usually written out this way with 5 lines. Okay, so hopefully that comes out clear enough in the video. Hello. So, 5 lines. And this little squiggly thing at the beginning is a treble clef, or sometimes called a G clef. Okay, all it does is it lets the reader know, us, what these lines and spaces mean. Okay, there are other symbols for, like, say, a bass guitar. There's a different symbol, and that means that these lines mean lower notes, because a bass guitar can't play notes that high. A ukulele can't play notes as low as a bass guitar. So there are different little squiggles for different instruments. Okay, so ukulele, we read this in its treble clef or G clef. So we have 5 lines and 5 spaces. So what do they mean? Okay, the spaces got shorter. Okay, the spaces are obviously the spots in between 2 lines. So the very first space is F, the next space is A, the next space is C, and the top space between those top 2 lines is E. So you can probably tell that spells out face. Yay, that's nice and easy to remember. Okay, now that's what the spaces are. Okay, now what are the lines? And I think I just made a little bit of a mess out of this. Oh well. So okay, the lines shrunk again. The lines don't really spell out anything. Okay, they're E, G, B, D, and F. So there's a few different ways to remember that. It's called a mnemonic device. And what you do is you take the first letter, or you take the letter of each thing you're trying to remember, and use that for the first letter of a sentence. Okay? So what you can do is make up your own sentence. There's a few different ones. The one that I learned is every good boy deserves fudge, or every good boy does fine. Those are 2. And then I had a student that made up one. It was a girl student, so she had like every girl something believes, something flowers, or I don't know. But she came up with something, so whatever works for you. Okay, so the spaces are face, and the lines are every good boy deserves fudge. Okay, now I'm going to write it back in, and I'm going to write in the lines, and we're going to talk about the actual notes. Okay. So, that first note, the bottom line, what note is it? Right, E. Okay, it is this string, it's that E right there. Okay? Now, the next space is, what note? G. Every good. And the G is that third fret on the E string. Okay, the next line is what letter? B. Right. Is the second fret on the A string. And then that is the D, and it's the fifth fret on the A string. So remember, like I said, the notes go lower and they go higher, okay? But right here is mostly where we're going to do ukulele stuff. Okay, we don't go a whole lot higher than about the fifth fret. Sometimes like 7, sometimes like the Alona Waltz that we just did, we go all the way up to the 10th fret. But usually not that much. We do everything right around the first 3 or 4 or 5 frets, like most of what we do. Okay, so you have that. Now, the space right here that I tried to write kind of crooked and made a mess. Okay, the space right there, that note is an F, because F. So the first fret on the E string, E, F, G. Okay, the next space, so E, F, G, that space that's not written in, there's a note, but that space there would be A. Then the note that I wrote in right there is a B. And then the space that would go in between these two notes is a C. And then the last note that I wrote there is a D. Okay, so does that make sense? Excellent. Okay, now we can go lower. Okay. So this note here is a space, and it's below the line. So this line is an E. So going backwards, that means that that's a D. Okay? And that would be the second fret on the C string. And then the next note lower, I draw in a little tiny line. That note is a C, and it would be just the C string. Okay? So, that's most of what we would play on the ukulele, all the way from C up to this D here. Okay? Now, remember I said that there are 12 different notes, okay, and then I said A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and that's only 7. There are notes in between some of the notes, okay? Excuse me. So, it goes A, if we just start on A, B, you might notice being the second fret that there's a note in between. Okay, that's an A sharp and a sharp. looks like a little number sign or a hashtag sign. Okay, it's an A sharp, which is 1 fret up, 1 fret higher, or a B flat, and a flat looks like sort of like a lowercase b. It's like a pointy little lowercase b. I'll write it in a minute. Okay, so B down 1 fret is a B flat. So A sharp, B flat, same note. So we have A sharp, B flat, B, C, C sharp or D flat, D, D sharp or E flat, E, F, F sharp or G flat, G, G sharp or A flat, and then back to A. So you may have noticed that there are no sharps or flats between B and C, or between E and F. Okay? So that's just how it is. There's no sharps or flats between those. They are just right next to each other. Okay? But between the others, there's the sharps and the flats. Okay, so if I write okay, so that note is a G. Okay, but it's a G sharp, so it's boop. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense, and that's what the sharp looks like. And if I did wait, I don't want to do that. Oh no. Dry erase is really nice, except when you make a mistake and you're trying to kind of keep everything together here. Okay, so that's a B flat. So that B would be right here, 2nd fret. B flat would be there. Okay? Pretty easy, right? Okay, so that's the sharps and the flats. Okay, but for now, we're not going to worry too much about sharps and flats. Okay? So what we're going to do is play something. So I'm going to write this out. Okay. So you know what, we'll do one more. Okay. Ta-da! So first what you want to do, okay, is you want to understand what these notes are. Okay, what these little circle colored in with the lines are. Okay, so this is on that bottom line. So it is a what? E. Okay, E. That space is an F. G, A, B, C, D, which was the 5th fret on that highest string. Okay, and then I did one more E, which would be the 7th fret on that highest string. Okay, so first you want to make sure that you understand what these notes are. Okay, so we know that this is an E. So how would you play that E? Okay, it would be the open E string, remember? So E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. And then if we wanted to go backwards, we could. So, hopefully that makes sense. And this is what reading music is. What I like about reading music is that it makes it really easy to visualize notes. So you see these, okay, this note is lower in pitch than this note. This note is higher in pitch than this note. Because you can see it, it goes do, 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 up, okay, or down. On a ukulele, though, it's a little trickier, okay, because this note, 2nd fret on the C string, okay, and then the open string on the next string, on the E, okay, so I'm going 2nd fret, then 0, well 2 is higher than 0, but the note goes up, so it's kind of weird, like, okay, well that's a little confusing. Okay, then it gets even worse on a ukulele with this string here, because this string is actually higher in pitch than this string and this string. So they don't even go in order. So of course the notes are all, you know, higher and lower on different strings. It gets very confusing to try to see how the notes sound. Okay? And with something like this, with music, okay, you can see how the notes sound. They go do 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 up. Okay, so I like at least being able to read sheet music, at least understanding how sheet music works, because it really helps you see what the music is supposed to sound like. And I find that that really helps when I'm trying to play something. So I can see it going up, so I can play it. Oh, we didn't go that high. We only went up to E. Sorry. Going back down again. So going up and then going back down. So reading music, I think, is really nice, really important. Okay. Now I'm going to write something out for you to try practicing. Okay. So I'll be right back. So I wrote out something for you to take a look at. Okay, and you can pause the video. So you can really kind of take a look at it, and it's just some notes that I wrote out, and I actually, wow, I can like really barely see over this. I didn't actually play it. I know what the notes are, and I know how they should sound in my head, and like I said, I can see how it should sound. So, not only could I just play it, but I can hear it in my head already, how it's supposed to go. Okay? And I'm sure, even without knowing how to read music, you can, or reading music just like a little bit, understanding it, you can already sort of understand how it's supposed to sound. It goes down, then it goes up, and then back down a little bit. So, pretty simple. So, try playing that, okay? And what you can work on is memorizing, you know what? You've already paused the video and seen this and everything, so I can move it aside. Okay, now I have light again. Work on memorizing the notes on the ukulele from previous videos and whatnot, and then memorizing that the spaces spell out face, and that the lines, the sentence that I learned was every good boy deserves fudge, but whatever works for you, E, G, B, D, F. Okay, and then being able to play all of those on the ukulele. Okay, so the E, that bottom line, is that string. Okay, the C, which would be the third space up from the bottom, is that note there. So just being able to play all of those notes, the F, the A, the C, and the E, and the E, G, B, D, and F, just being able to play them, and then working on this little thing that I just wrote out. Okay? And that's it. So, enjoy, and I will see you at the next lesson.